Welcome to the Anxiety Slayer series. Our mission is to assist you with creating more peace and tranquility in your life through anxiety release exercises and supportive tools created to slay your anxiety.
Welcome to Anxiety Slayer. I'm Shan Vanderleek here with Ananga Sivir. We are Slayer sisters and come together weekly on Skype to share Anxiety Slayer sessions with you, answer listener questions from our inbox and Facebook page, and share a powerful collection of techniques to reduce anxiety. Today we're going to be covering 5 common causes of anxiety to look out for. Hey Ananga, how you doing?
Hi Shan, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Awesome. So good to be back together with you to talk about these 5 common causes.
Yeah, I think the first one to look out for, and this is one that my mind really goes after, is the what if thoughts, allowing what if thoughts. So we all have them, I think, certainly anyone managing anxiety, but it's the allowing. What if thoughts come up? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I've got this illness? So many lovely varieties of what if thoughts, but it's the allowing them, the allowing your mind to pursue it. Because my mind, if I let it, will create a whole scenario. I'll be writing my will seconds after having that thought if I'm not very careful. So if a what if thought comes up, to stop it. We're not doing this right now, or let's think about this later, to actually speak to your mind, use your intelligence to tell your mind, not now, I'm doing this.
Right. That's excellent because it does come up, and who knows how many times a day that kind of stuff can come up. And if we nip it quickly, it's, oh, what a gift that you give yourself.
Yeah, and we have to practice.
Of course.
If I'm feeling peaceful and relaxed and happily practicing my meditation, then sometimes my mind really likes to try and interrupt that. And, it feels like, well, you're quiet now, so what about this? And what about that? And it's really helpful to try and just stop it. And as you said, to nip it in the bud, but it takes constant practice. And as we've spoken about before with Ayurveda, India's ancient system of healthcare, the science of living a long, peaceful, happy life. It talks about the mind being really easily disturbed. So it's also important to understand we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. It's the nature of the mind to rattle, to chatter, to be easily disturbed. It's what it does. And so we have to learn to treat it with a firm but kind hand and just keep practicing bringing it under our control. But it is a constant thing. That's why people talk about the monkey mind. It doesn't get the message easily. It doesn't shut up easily. So we just have to practice stopping it. When we hear, what if this, what if that, then we need to have somewhere else to go with it. I'm doing this. What are we doing? We need to be mindfully engaged in whatever we're doing, even if it's chopping vegetables, washing dishes, taking a shower, whatever the activity is, we need to be present. And that's why it's called mindful, because when the mind's empty, then it's, what do they call it? An idle mind is the devil's workshop. When the mind is idle, when the mind has got space, then it really rears up and becomes unruly. So mindful meditation doesn't mean we're trying to empty the mind. It doesn't mean we're trying not to think. It means that the mind is engaged. It's full with what we're doing. So if we're preparing dinner, then just get really involved in chopping the vegetables, the colors, the herbs, the spices, the scents, the people we're cooking for with love. Just really get your mind involved.
Another common cause would be putting yourself under pressure to be perfect. And, oh man, or to be okay. But the perfection piece is something that I can relate to. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And, oh, wow, can I be hard on myself? Still, excellence is perfect in itself. Strive for excellence. Don't worry about perfection. We're perfect just as we are. Remembering these things, right? Instead of having to, for years, I thought I had to be bulletproof.
Yeah. And yet we're told that the mind is easily disturbed. Also in the philosophy behind Ayurveda, it explains that there are 4 defects in every human being, and one of them is that we have the propensity to make mistakes. It's hot-wired in there. We're going to make them.
Right.
We're going to make mistakes, and we've got thinking equipment that's very unruly and very easily disturbed and likes to disturb us. So it's not an easy program, and it's really, I think for me, it just really helped to understand that we've got faulty equipment and we're living in a very turbulent time, and we have turbulence within. So again, it's, as we were talking in our previous podcast, self-kindness goes a long way here. Just accepting, okay, that's how it is. That's what I'm working with.
Right.
The mind is easily disturbed. That's the nature of the mind. I have a mind, therefore I'm going to experience disturbance from it, and it's going to get easily upset. So we're constantly having to readjust. And I think the thing with anxiety is that we have an expectation of recovery, of being okay, or even of perfection. And sometimes when we have a scheduled event, a family get together, a job interview, or something we have to do that's on the calendar, we expect ourselves to be fine for that. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're just getting through the best we can. The kinder we are to ourselves about it, and the more understanding we have about the nature of the mind, then the better we'll get through. Because if we're looking at that upcoming event and we're thinking, I have to be perfect, I have to be okay, that's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectation. Right. And very often we'll blow up just because of that, just because of the building pressure and expectation. It's just too much.
Oh, yeah. You're making me think of, it's not really funny, but it's one of my quirks. It's sometimes hard enough for me to get out the door for a social event.
Yeah.
But then to have to determine what I'm going to wear to that social event. And then if it's too hot, or if it's raining, or if it's, I mean, it's just my petulant child comes out and says, I don't want to go. I don't, there's nothing I want to wear. There's la, 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 la. And I'll just stop and say, wait, make yourself as comfortable as you possibly can and do the best you can. And everything's going to be fine. But I really have to stop and remind myself because I can just, or my mind, I should say, can just take me on this ride. And it's a ride I know very well.
Yeah.
And yet to just be sweet with myself and say, okay, you know what? Yes, it is 90 degrees and 89% humidity. And you have to be somewhere social, and which means you don't get to hang out in your t-shirt and shorts. And so, pile your hair on top of your head, put on some clean clothes, be as comfortable as you can, and show up. You're not the only one in this situation, right? Everybody coming is experiencing the, maybe, different levels of anxiety, of course. But anyway, I just thought that would be interesting to bring forward that there's a lot of pressure before those kinds of events and things. And so to just be really sweet with yourself and do the best you can with what's before you.
Yeah, and to let it unfold, because that's another area where the what if thoughts can come in. What if this person's going to be there and I'm not comfortable talking to them, or whatever, they're going to be thinner than me, younger than me, whatever the comparisons are that we make.
Sure.
Just go and let it happen.
Right. I haven't seen them in 30 years. They're going to notice I've aged.
Right.
Like what? The other piece I think is really important is that we get a good night's rest on a regular basis, and that we're mindful of our nutrition, because running on empty is an invitation for anxiety.
Yeah. Anxiety doesn't like it when we're not rested, or actually it does like it because it really fuels it, but we don't like it when we're not rested. And running on empty definitely increases anxiety, and even worse is running on empty and then grabbing a cup of coffee on the way out the door, because then you're going to have a caffeine spike, which is going to make you feel, for most people, make you feel more anxious as your heart rate increases and you get that sense of increased adrenaline in your body. So yeah, really important to allow yourself rest and good eating. It's not hard to do. It just requires some space and planning. It's the slowing down the rushing and the worrying and allowing for some space and planning.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the caffeine piece is really big, Ananga. I know that I'm much better off with the very, least amount of caffeine I can have. I do perfectly fine with sometimes my cup of black tea or my cup of coffee in the morning. But after that, I just don't take in any caffeine at all because it really does mess with my sleep, and I can feel my pitta dosha flare up
Mm.
sometimes. It's like I don't need any help
Hmm.
with that, what caffeine brings forward. That's not really what I need. So anyone listening, if you can curb your caffeine intake, it's going to make a big difference in your life.
Yeah, we've had several letters over the years from listeners who've it's just been about that. Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing up caffeine. I stopped taking any caffeinated drinks, and it's made a huge difference to my anxiety within a week for many
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've heard that lots of times.
And so there's another piece which I think is really at the top of the list is not taking steps to support yourself, not remembering how important it is to breathe deeply, to get outside and take a walk, to allow yourself to relax and listen to a good guided relaxation, or even tapping through things that might be making you a little bit wonky.
Yeah. And we get more wonky if we're not using our tools. So definitely to choose some tools. On our website, we have lots of things you can try: EFT tapping, guided relaxations, guided meditations, guided breathing practices. We have these available in the iTunes Music Store and on Amazon as well, just to allow yourself every day some maintenance time, some self-care time, something that offsets anxiety. It's as important for the health of our mind as it is for the health of our body that we just take some time out. Whatever you try that you feel helps your anxiety, allow time for it daily. Even if it's just 10, 15 minutes a day, just some time for some breathing practices, some yoga stretches, a walk in nature, whatever it is you feel does it for you, allow time for it. I have one friend that has to walk every day, and she's fine, absolutely fine if she gets a good walk in every day. If she misses for a couple of days, her mind starts to kick off. Such a simple thing. She has to commit to that, and she knows it, and she does it. Therefore, for the most part of the time, she's just fine. But if it slips, then her mind will start. So it's a maintenance program. Working with anxiety, we require some maintenance, some management. So yeah, pick your tools, play with a few, find the ones that you feel help you, and then use them regularly.
And then lastly, when we're talking about the 5 common causes of anxiety to look out for, is not being tuned in to your triggers. Speak a little bit more about that.
I think it's all part of the rushing around and not having so much space. Is sometimes we feel that anxiety is an external force that randomly attacks us. And it certainly feels like that. Very often that's how anxiety feels. You might feel that you're absolutely fine, and then all of a sudden anxiety rears up. But very often, if we have a look back, there's cause and effect with anxiety, and it's really important to find the causes. And it could be, again, caffeine. We've had people who were experiencing panic attacks who took a lot of caffeine and then they stopped and it eased off, as we've just mentioned. So it could be caffeine. Does caffeine trigger your anxiety? Does alcohol trigger your anxiety? Sometimes people who drink in the evenings wake up anxious in the night. When they change that habit, their anxiety changes. Does not having quiet time increase your anxiety? For myself, I need a little bit of quiet time every day, or I start to go wonky, to use your excellent word, Shan. I need a bit of space, a bit of quiet time, or it starts to affect me. What is it you need? Some people need to exercise to discharge stress. Some people really benefit from just releasing tension in their body by having a hot bath, maybe with some lavender or magnesium, maybe take a massage. These are all positive things I'm mentioning, but is it that they trigger you if you don't have them? Just look at what affects you. Is it something
Right.
you could be doing that helps that you're not getting that triggers you? Or is it just that you feel more anxious when you're overtired, overextended, when you've got deadlines at work, your anxiety comes up? Sometimes medications can increase anxiety. I know of a doctor that had a panic attack after he took too much cough medicine. He self-prescribed and took more than the recommended dose and had a panic attack right in his office. Maybe it's a medication, in which case
Right.
talk to your doctor and see if there are alternatives. So just to be aware, sometimes it's anxiety is greater in the autumn or the fall season or over the holidays in the middle of the winter, just to know, okay, this can make me feel worse. And again, it's about kindness and adjustment. If you can see the cause of anxiety increasing, For me personally, then it's not as bad because you know where it came from. And then you have the opportunity to support yourself and adjust. So just to practice noticing if your anxiety spikes, what were you doing an hour ago? What were you doing yesterday? If it's a particularly busy time for you, what's been going on over previous weeks? Just have a look and you'll usually see something that spiked your anxiety. And then once you know what it is, then you can help yourself, support yourself to bounce back better, or just to, if it's something perhaps you can avoid in the future or do differently in the future, just so you don't feel like a sitting duck all the time. That anxiety just comes and gets you out of the blue.
Wonderful points. Thank you so much, Ananga. Always a pleasure to come together with you. And thank you to all of our listeners. Please continue to send us your questions. We love coming together and supporting you in the best way we know how.
Thanks for listening to Anxiety Slayer. We invite you to visit our new streamlined Anxiety Slayer store for instant access to our support packs on EFT tapping, the quick anxiety stopper, mindfulness for anxiety relief, and so much more. Visit anxietyslayer.com/store.